maybe even the next one. So, so New York just got to be too much. And I was wild. I burned through a crap load of cash,
Yeah, I understand. I get it.
New York, a lot.
Yeah.
We were really insanely wild. I mean, Lucky Cheng's in these village. Lucky Cheng would toss us the keys. Just go, just mark what you drink. I mean, it was just, but the stories are legion. I'm sure you guys have heard lots of stories. But anyway, mine were as tawdry and probably as florid as any, I suppose. But okay, so I won't belabor that. But so we go into, so I get to Bali. I couldn't work in Brazil. It was kind of funny, but insects would land on the paint. You just have to paint over them, and oil paint. You just paint over. It was like 4-wheel drive, just painting over bloody insects. And I paint, and one more exotic than the next. But I couldn't really work there. It was just too ridiculous. Brazil had a lot going for it. People liked, one thing I like is to be where people look at the weird crap you make and they kind of go, wow, as opposed to what the fuck is that? I know there's a lot of places where they do. It's kind of like, whoa, and Brazil was kind of like, they like this weird gringo guy who was painting nutso paintings of lesbian chimpanzees and mud-covered men defecating,
right?
Which is what I was working on down there. And they thought it was, they enjoyed having that in their midst, and I appreciated that, and I appreciated being there. But it was a logistical nightmare. In customs, you'd see grown men banging their heads against walls, crying because sorry.
It's okay.
Because bureaucracy is a well-documented, mind-numbing nightmare, even for the most diligent, and bureaucratically adept. And I'm not. I'm the opposite end of that spectrum. So, the idea and to get a paintbrush there, I'd have to get on that ferry, drive through the jungle, get another ferry, then end up at a place where I could buy a kiddie plastic paintbrush. Mm-hmm. And I heard from a lot of Brazilians, even down in Rio and Sao Paulo, it was a problem they imported a lot. So, and then, that girl who rode out of the jungle on a bike. Well, I started having an affair with boyfriend at the time, was one of the richest, most powerful families in the area, and connected to. He was a nice guy, but he was connected to gangsters who weren't so nice.
Right.
And I thought I'd better make myself a bit scarce, so I decided it might be time to go to the place I'd been going to every year, where I kind of thought it was a second home anyway, Bali. So I went there with the Brazilian woman, and that's how it started in Bali. Started small, little by little, added a little bit, worked in the living room, and got another house, took over a bedroom, then converted the bedroom, little by little, and one day, years later, built a big studio, and then little by little now, I've got way down the hill is my studio, and it's a big studio now. I don't know, it's not big by Paul McCarthy standards, but it's pretty big.
So how do you navigate being like this expat surfer, New York artist, expat, but still being really vibrant and important to the New York art scene right now?
I don't know. I mean, I'm in some ways, it seems that my importance is more relevant with certain groups than others.
Right.
Less so with collectors and curators, much more so with younger artists. Younger artists probably because they like the way I've done it. Both in the studio and out of the studio.
Right.
And that is probably the same reason why, my relationship has been somewhat problematized with collectors or curators, because curators want to be able to, they say they're looking for curators are very particular. They like to sort of, they glom onto very particular things. I call them sort of curator bukkake artists. And it's somehow got to be, the artist has to create a space for the curator to
Right. You have to be available.
But yet, for the creator to realize themselves in you, or in your practice, in your work, in your being, and also offer all the political expedience of the moment, to lend the right color and shape to their self-image, and their the curator's language is very much about conversing with other curators. They're very much speaking to each other. Look, I don't belittle it completely, because there are some really great shows. I mean, just, I've been spending a lot of time in LA lately, and so I've seen some beautifully curated shows. So when it's done right, it's something of beauty to be seen. But I've had some issues with curators and collectors. For the stylistic changes make it kind of difficult with collectors. Yeah, I've made tons of money at times, and I've been absolutely flat freaking broke, ready to crawl back and try to get some teaching job in some community college in bumfuck Texas. It's been up and down.
That's kind of like, that's the interesting part about the art market, is that, you have you're supposed to have a signature style, and you're supposed to regurgitate that throughout the rest of your lifetime. And as artists, we have to work.
Not too slow, because Peter Halley, like say, he's too slow. He had to go through there is the perfect career artist. It wouldn't be, not Halley, because he spent too long doing the same thing, so he had to wait to cycle back around again. So he had to spend like 20 years in the doldrums. Your perfect career artist would be Chris Wall. Chris is a friend of mine, and I like his work, so I'm not saying this in any way to be negative about his work, but just in the sense of the market, Chris is perfect. It has all the appearances of radicality without being, it's a painting, it's tasteful, it's within certain things, but it has a sort of slouch.
It's comforting for collectors. It's definitely comforting for collectors, and it's very easy for curators to work with. So,
and then the speed it moves at is perfect. It's sort of, he has a very good sense of when a period has sort of run its course.
Right. I used to help shift his work actually through Scarstead Gallery, a little secondary market spot, and it was always very easy to do. Chris was never on the fast track that Jeff was. Jeff was from out the gate. He was just always on another planet. But Chris was steady. I kind of watched him all the time, and I just, I kind of like, the guy just keeps coming, man. Like he's a tortoise. Other people would fall off or flame out or this or that, but he kept coming. He wasn't one of the bigger figures in the beginning. I remember, like quite early on, this Stedelijk show or both the Saatchi show, the Stedelijk show were early on, which sort of defined our kind of generation. And in neither of those shows would Chris have been a central figure. In the Saatchi show, it was 2 parts, and they kept 4 artists from the first show into the second. And so those artists would have probably been in Saatchi's eyes the key. And that would have been Koons, Gober, myself, and somebody else. I can't remember the third. I can't remember the fourth. But it was Koons, Gober, myself, and one other artist who were kept for both parts of the show. And same with the Stedelijk show when it was there. It was Chris wasn't, but Chris had a way. And then I've just watched him over time, just sort of evolve, just all of the right pace. So he doesn't freak collectors out that he's leaving stuff behind, and he doesn't make them think that he's overproducing any one body of work. Just so that, if you wanted to, and I would never be so cynical as to teach any students I ever had, how to do a career.
But if I was ever asked that question, I'd just say, look at Chris. If you want to do a career, that's how you do it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's nothing to do with the work itself. I've got my own relationship with the work, and have had from the beginning. We actually showed it together, really, really at the beginning in the Cable Gallery, way back in another time. It was a kind of legendary gallery now. I hear it described as. It was in the 611 Broadway building, which also Run DMC were in that building. So you'd see Run DMC and those guys in their hats and their big chains coming out the building. And because of that, you see the Beastie Boys, and then you'd see like a young Chris Wool and the young ... and it was a funny time. Yeah, it was right in the corner of Broadway and Houston. It was Clarissa Dalrymple, Nicole Clagsburn, and then they picked up Matthew Barney, Michael Gray, like really early in.
Oh, geez.
But that's when the gallery flamed out. Yeah, I actually got them to those Yale people because I was teaching up at Yale, and I sort of discovered is not the word. It was obvious. They were just really, really good artists. And I just said, Chris, you gotta see these people. And so she went up, and then she immediately kind of knew what she was looking at because she has a very good eye. And yeah, and then it was all scheduled to go, but I think the gallery just kind of ran fuel. They were visionary but dysfunctional. Yeah. So anyway.
So you're with the first time I saw your work in person was at Sonnabend, and now you are showing with Lehman Maupin. Is that true?
Yeah.
So I was really intrigued by the flag art retrospective. I've been trying to just dig into that as much as possible. What do you have going on right now?
Nothing. I'm happy. Happy as a pig in shit, though. I kind of like it.
You're on the tail end of that. You're on the tail end of that show.
Oh, that was way back. No, it was stacking up to be a great time. I had actually because I had museum shows just eluded me. I mean, everybody else had something somewhere, even if it was only a little museum somewhere, some college museum. I had nothing for years, and then suddenly, it looked like I was going to have 4 in a row, but only 2 of them panned out. One was Damien Hirst's Newport Street, which is really one of the best spaces in the art world, really. Physical spaces, but then the other was Flag. Unfortunately, again, things like that don't translate in the curator world because they look kind of askance at private patronage and its peccadillos and all its attendant baggage. But I've had people like Paul Schimmel tell me that he went back to that show 5 times, and he just said it's people don't get your work yet. They just don't. People aren't there yet. You're just somewhere else and get it one day, but no. I mean, I kind of think that maybe he's blowing smoke up my ass, and maybe I'm just lame, or maybe, yeah, I don't know. But it doesn't. I'm not a curator, darling. Glenn Furnham took a chance on me, and again,
I think Glenn's a great guy. I think he's a great patron of the arts. The whole flag art thing, I think, has been a positive thing for New York for sure.
But then they give one person show a year, and then they did that other one after me, and it didn't. Again, I had all these kind of things, but they didn't go anywhere. Like my show at Newport Street with Damien's thing, it didn't really sort of lead anywhere directly. I think they always do, but it can sometimes in some people's case it takes years and it's just sort of there. But I've seen it happen. Like Jeff was showing his stacked vacuum cleaners for years, and people wouldn't focus on them. And for me, it was just sort of like, look at this thing in the middle of the freaking room. It's so much better than anything else. It's just like, don't you see it? And they're like, yeah, but look at that little Tyler Turtle thing over there. Isn't that cute? And I'm like, no. And then, I mean, I don't know if you guys were around at that time, but if you go to openings, and at the end of the opening, there were coons like vacuum cleaners with like half-filled plastic glasses all over the top filled with cigarettes.
No.
Oh.
That was a different time. Yeah.